video, we're going to look at the conventions, complex and compact sentences, and we're going to look at the worksheet from Pearson. So this video is from your book, online tutorial. So first let's watch it, and then we'll go to the worksheet afterwards.
Complex and compound complex sentences. When I was a young boy, I wanted to ride a rocket into space. Becoming an astronaut is a complex task, and this is a complex sentence. A complex sentence contains one independent clause, which has a subject and a verb, and can stand alone as a complete thought, and one or more subordinate clauses, which also have a subject and a verb, but cannot stand alone as a complete thought. Here's another example of a complex sentence. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration, which is often referred to as NASA, was created in 1958 to encourage peaceful U.S. space travel. Can you spot the independent clause? It's hidden in there. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration is the subject, and was created is the verb. So, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration was created in 1958 to encourage peaceful U.S. space travel is the independent clause. Which is often referred to as NASA is a subordinate clause. It depends on the independent clause to make sense. That's a very complex sentence. But it's not as complex as a compound complex sentence, like this one. While children aren't allowed to travel to space in rockets, adults with a degree in engineering are eligible for the space program, and pilots who have logged over 1,000 hours in a jet aircraft can be considered. A compound complex sentence contains at least one subordinate clause. While children aren't allowed to travel to space in rockets, and at least two independent clauses. Adults with a degree in engineering are eligible for the space program, and pilots who have logged over 1,000 hours in a jet aircraft can be considered. There are additional requirements to become an astronaut, but those two should keep you busy for at least a little while. The sky's the limit!
Okay, so let's go to the worksheet and then look at some more information about the topic. So this is Unit 2 from Nature and from Self-Reliance section. So if we remember, an independent clause has its own subject and verb and can stand by itself as a complete sentence. A subordinate or dependent clause has a subject and the verb, but cannot stand alone as a complete sentence because it's not the complete thought. So there are four types of sentences. Simple sentence, there's only one independent clause. We look for gold. So be is the subject and look for is the verb, one subject, one verb, and one sentence. Compound, you use the fanboys to connect them. Two or more independent clauses. We look for gold, fanboy here. So we did this in grade 10, and but, so, nor, yet. These are all conjunctions that combine two sentences, independent sentences. Complex sentence, there should be at least one independent clause and one or more dependent subordinate clauses. Since we don't find it, so this is the subordinate, dependent, in other words, we must look for gold elsewhere. So we must look for gold elsewhere is the independent sentence because it can stand on its own as a complete thought. Compound and complex, you need two or more independent clauses plus one or more subordinate clauses. Since we don't find any gold, this is the subordinate dependent one, we should look for gold elsewhere or we should give up. So we should look for gold elsewhere and we should give up. They are independent clauses and combine with or. So basically you need to see in compound and complex sentence one fanboys that connect two sentences and then one complex sentence which with different conjunctions like after, although, as if, because, before, etc. So the list is here, but it's not limited with this one, of course. So if you see one of these words at the beginning of the sentence or in the sentence, that means this makes a complex sentence. If you see or, and, but, so, yet, nor, fanboys, then they make a compound sentence. So let's look at the sentences here. If things don't change, I will quit my job and I will look for a new job immediately. So here we have if, and if is in the list of our subordinate dependent clause. So that means this is a complex sentence. I will quit my job and I will look for a new job immediately. So if we have also a fanboy combining two independent sentences, that makes a compound complex sentence. Number 2, I love the job when I first started. So let's have a look. When is here. So it makes this one is like a complex sentence. So the independent clause is I loved the job, because when I first started cannot be used on its own. Number 3, I went to a recruiter because I wasn't sure what to do. So because I wasn't sure what to do cannot be used on its own. It doesn't make sense. Dependent clause, it's asking, which means we cannot use it on its own. It needs somebody, it needs like somebody next to it, like a friend. So because I wasn't sure what to do is the dependent clause. I felt much better after speaking with the recruiter for more than an hour and going over my options. So here, after, we have after, that means it makes a complex sentence. And going over my, after speaking and going over my options. So this is only a complex sentence. Because going over my options is not a complete sentence, so we cannot consider it as an independent sentence. Number 5, before I quit my current job, I should have a new job lined up. So which one is the independent clause here? Before cannot be independent because you need something else next to it. So that means I should have a new job lined up. C's choice is the answer. So here it says decide whether this clause is dependent or independent. I am addicted to a TV show and I watch it every Sunday night. So both of them are independent because they can make sense on their own. When spring arrives, the flowers bloom. So when spring arrives, that's dependent because we have when at the beginning. Though the play was silly, it was brilliantly acted and I enjoyed it. So it was brilliantly acted and I enjoyed it is an independent sentence because starting with though cannot be an independent, it's a dependent one. Joe read the book that I gave him. That I gave him is a dependent clause because you cannot use it on its own. I emailed Miss Green to thank her for her help. I emailed Miss Green is a complete thought, so it's an independent clause. Sheila visited Harvard University, which is located in Cambridge. Which is located in Cambridge is a dependent one because it's got which, and which is located in Cambridge cannot be used on its own. It doesn't make sense. So here, what you're going to do after watching the video again, in the B section, you will just write, for example, number 1. Is it a simple sentence, compound, complex, or compound complex sentence? So for the 6 sentences in part A, you will identify each of the sentences and label them as simple, compound, complex, or compound complex. Okay, good luck with doing that. After you finish, submit your worksheets. Thank you. Bye-bye.